Tucson, le nom vient de la langue pima, il veut dire pied de la montagne sombre. Les missionnaires espagnols vinrent s'y implanter, suivis 2 siècles plus tard par les pionniers. Tucson est la deuxième ville de l'Arizona, avec 700 000 habitants. Tucson commande l'accès de Tombstone et des parcs de Saguaro et d'Organ Pipe. Tucson fut capitale de l'Arizona pendant 10 ans, de 1867 à 1877. Après avoir accueilli la diligence, puis le chemin de fer, elle est aujourd'hui au nez des routes 10 et 19. Pendant votre trajet, vous pourrez profiter du désert riche et pittoresque, du désert sonorant. Saguaros sont les fameux cactus en Arizona qui ont créé l'image du western. Ce n'est pas une coïncidence, car plus de 300 westerns ont été tournés à Tucson et cette image de l'Ouest vient de cet endroit. Old Tucson. Il ne s'agit pas d'une ville fantôme ou d'une antique implantation espagnole. Les studios de Old Tucson ont été pour des dizaines d'années un plateau de tournage majeur pour la télévision et le cinéma.
Old Tucson began in 1939 as a movie set. It was built by Columbia Pictures for a film called Arizona. In those days, most of the westerns were filmed at a backlot in Hollywood, but the budget for this picture was $2.5 million, which was a huge amount of money back in 1939. Certainly wouldn't buy much of a film today, but back then it would. In fact, Columbia considered this to be an epic, and so it was decided to do it on location. They sent scouts from California here to southern Arizona, and they chose a site in what is called the Upper Valley, at that time about 12 miles west of Tucson. In order to build the set, they went to the city archives using blueprints and old photographs. They constructed an authentic reproduction of what Tucson looked like in the 1860s. Most of the set was made from adobe brick. It was extensive, required well over 350,000 bricks. They had to make all those by hand. They did those right here on site. Adobe is a mixture of straw, water, and clay. It takes about 2 weeks for those bricks to cure in the sun. It took them approximately 6 weeks to build the set, which in of itself was quite an accomplishment because back in those days, this place truly was in the middle of nowhere. Most of the set was without roofs because the electric power was just about non-existent. So the studios used this big old Arizona sun for both the interior and exterior scenes for that film, and therefore there were no roofs. That movie debuted here in Tucson in 1940, and from 40 to 45 this place fell silent. World War II had begun. They made no films at all here during those years. Filming did resume after the war. They made well over a dozen films here through the late 40s and on into the 50s. Such films as 310 to Yuma with Glenn Ford and Van Heflin in 1957. The Winchester 73 with Jimmy Stewart in 1950. The gunfight at the OK Corral in 1957 with Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas, and many, many more. Now, when the movie was completed, Arizona movie was completed, the picture company turned the buildings and the land over to Pima County, which is our local government. And over the years, the county has leased the business portion to private enterprise. In 1959, Robert Shelton, who was a businessman from Kansas City, took over the lease. And he was here for 25 years until 1984, and he's the man that put this place on the map. Because prior to 59, there were long periods where this place would sit idle. There's no caretaker here for many years, and the only time it came to life is when Hollywood would decide to make a film. They'd come out, shoot the movie, pack their goods, head back to California, and the place to fall back to sleep. So when Bob Shelton took over, he decided to turn this into a family-style theme park, something like a mini Knott's Berry Farm, and he began to charge admission. However, in 1960, they made a film here called The Deadly Companions with Brian Keith. Maureen O'Hara was his co-star, and Bob Shelton was bitten with that movie bug. The Knott's Berry Farm concept took a back seat. In 1962, John Wayne came back, the Duke. He came here to scouting locations for McClintock. He met Bob Shelton for the very first time. They became close friends, and even better for Bob Shelton, you could buy shares in Old Tucson Studios. So John Wayne put some of his own money in this place, became a partner with Shelton, and together they got the whole thing off the ground. The rest is pretty much history. So John Wayne's involvement early on just about guaranteed this to be a success. Speaking of John Wayne, he made 4 films here in his career. The first one was in 1958. It was called Rio Bravo. It starred Dean Martin, Rick Nelson, Angie Dickinson, Walter Brennan, and Ward Bond.
She'll be waiting for my rifle, pony, and me. For my rifle, my pony, and me.
In 1962, his co-star was a beautiful red-haired Irish actress. Her name was Maureen O'Hara. The movie was McClintock. Also in that film was another pretty gal. Her name was Yvonne DiCarlo. Later on, she became a television star. She was Lily Munster in a Munster TV series. 65, the film was El Dorado with Robert Mitchum and a young James Caan, who played a character called Mississippi. And in 1970, the film was Rio Lobo with a young actress. Her name was Jennifer O'Neill. Filming continued throughout the years, and as each film company would come here, they would add some sets. They became bigger and bigger as time went by. Eventually, there was over 120 buildings here. This was the largest movie location in the United States. And attendance back then was over 500,000 people per year, so this place was really humming back in those days, and mainly because of Bob Shelton. In 1995, they had a terrible fire here, a very destructive fire, destroyed almost 40% of the studio, and they never could find out what the cause was. It is still undetermined after 12 years. And they're probably never going to know for sure, but one of the main buildings that were destroyed was the sound stage, which was probably the most versatile facility here. It allowed them to film 12 months of the year, which is important because summertime, it is very hot and sticky here in Tucson, and filming outdoors is really not an option. The authorities did an investigation. They could not pinpoint the cause. It's still undetermined, and it took about 20 months to rebuild. We reopened in January of 1997. As time went by in the late 70s, early 80s, more filming took place. They did some television series here, The High Chaparral in 66 through 71 with Leif Erikson, Linda Crystal, Henry Darrow, Don Collier, also some of the Bonanza series with the stars of that series. Also, Little House on the Prairie with Michael Landon's famous TV series. Quite a bit of that was done here, quite a few episodes. Michael Landon had a real fondness for Old Tucson, and he liked to have people here too, so when they were filming, he would invite all the townsfolk out there, so things, he was very well liked in this area. Did a lot of charity work and he was here too, so he is still pretty quite well thought of by the people living here. In 1969, they purchased another movie location called Mescal, which is about 40 miles southeast of here, just this side of a town called Benson. Mescal was purchased from Old Tucson Studios, from CBS Television by Old Tucson Studios, and through the 80s and mid-90s was the primary location for many, many films. Among them, The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean with Paul Newman in the early 70s, a movie with called Monty Walsh with Jack Palance and Lee Marvin, which was one of the first films they did there. Jack Palance just passed away last year at the age of 87. And of course, Lee Marvin was one of the baddest of the bad guys. The old Western bad guys. Jack Elam was probably the top bad guy in the old Westerns. He lost his eye as a child, and that one eye really became his trademark. He had this goofy looking eye. And then Jack Palance and Lee Marvin, they were about the three of the baddest of the bad. And then in the 90s, they did a movie called Tombstone with Val Kilmer and Kurt Russell back in 1992. And Val Kilmer, most of us agree, probably should have been nominated for an Academy Award for his portrayal of Doc Holliday. I still think one of the best roles he has done in his career. And such movies as Three Amigos, some of that was filmed here back in 1986. Lightning Jack with Paul Hogan, Cuba Gooding Jr. Paul Hogan was Crocodile Dundee, the guy from Australia. They did a film here just before the fire. That was probably the last film done here before the fire. And then after the fire, it's been there's not much filming done here. The market for westerns has pretty much dried up. They are doing some filming at Mescal now. I don't know exactly what they're doing down there. But hopefully, maybe somebody will start making some westerns and kind of give it a renaissance, so to speak, so that it'd be nice to have some more westerns made, kind of rejuvenate the genre. And if that happens, I think Old Tucson Studios will probably be involved in quite a bit of that filming. Two locomotives were used in that episode. One of those was the Reno, and it's been used in many, many films over the years. A very historic locomotive. It was built back in 1872 in Pennsylvania. It's been in over 100 films and a long movie career, beginning way back in 1937. And Shelton purchased that locomotive in 1970 at an auction from MGM Studios. It's been in such films as Joe Kidd, which was done here, The Wild Wild West in '98 with Will Smith, Kevin Kline, and Selma Hayek, also in that film. There was a Steven Spielberg TV series in June of '05 called Into the West, a mini-series, a 12-hour series, and that locomotive also appeared in that series in an episode where they showed the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad. Well, today Old Tucson Studios is pretty much a theme park. We have rides for the children, a carousel, we have a miniature train, we have antique cars that they can ride, restaurants, we have a shooting gallery, we have stunt shows, gunfights.
Will, what the devil? All right, here you go. All right, now drink that real slow. All right, now start from the beginning. I was up north by Push Ridge. I saw smoke rising from the valley, so I rode down to see what it was. And? It was old man Phillips. His ranch had been burnt to the ground. Well, what about Mr. Phillips? Is he all right? He was dead. Someone had rustled his cow. I followed their trail to a box canyon. Then I got jumped. They beat me up, took my horse, and left me for dead. I don't know how I got out of there alive. Well, did you get a look at any of them? Yeah, one of them. He had a big scar across his face. Gotta talk to the marshal. I'm gonna need help with this. Well, you won't be able to do that, Will. The marshal just left town with a wagon full of prisoners up to Yuma to stand trial. Won't be back for at least 2 weeks. Is there any way I can help? Yeah. Gonna need a horse and a gun. We gotta get on their trail before it gets cold. Gonna need some supplies too. Just have them put it on my bill. But now wait a minute, Will. Those things should come in and rest up a bit. I mean, you had a long day. You was like a road dog.
Yeah, I gotta get going.
See, Will, what I said. All right, come on. Let's get you inside. All right, we'll get you those wounds fixed up. Howdy, stranger. You must be new in these parts. So it's nice to see a new face. Say, I'm the local doctor. I can take a look at that scar of yours if you want.
I don't need anything from you.
Now, wait a minute. You didn't have to come from up north now, did you?
No, I came up south.
Are you sure you were up north?
Just what the hell you getting at?
Well, you got red clay in your boots, and there's no red clay down south. It's all up north. I just reckon you're a little confused, that's all.
You call me some kind of liar, boy?
No, I would never do that. But you hadn't been up north. Maybe you were hunting?
No one messes with my affairs, Doc. You listen to me. You mind your own business, and you leave me the hell alone. Go out. Get out of my sight.
All right, mister. You so much twitch, I'm gonna blow a hole in you so big, you can drive the noon stage through it.
Is that you, Doc?
It sure is, and I got this here scatter gun on you. So if you move real slow. I can last us in wintertime. Comprende?
All right, Doc. So what do we do now, huh?
Well, I reckon you start walking that way towards the gym.
All right, Doc. Don't get all wrapped up on me. Just let me set my stuff down. And, I'll go with you. Well, look at you now, Doc. I told you not to mess with my affairs. Now, you're gonna pay the fiddler.
I know you. You killed old man Phillips. You're a murderer.
That's right. I am. Well, Doc, I guess today just wasn't your day, now was it?
Hold it right there.
Well, ain't this a surprise?
Now turn around. Slow.
Well, well, well. I thought I left you for dead, Ranger.
That was your first mistake. Your second was coming here. And your third is when you killed my friend.
So what are you gonna do now? Kill me in cold blood?
Why not? You tried to kill me. You killed old man Phillips. And now Jeff.
Well, looks like I get to fix me one mistake I made. Adios, Ranger. No!
Adios. Jim? Jim, are you alright? I don't know, Will. I think it's pretty bad. You? I'll live. What, are you crazy? You know, I always wanted to be a lawman, Will. I just thought this was my big chance to show you. Jeff? Jeff! No! No! Jeff! Get up! Come on. Get up, Jeff!
Mitchell recovered from his wounds and served with the Arizona Territorial Rangers for another 8 years, then slipped into the dusty pages of history. But he never forgot his friend who saved his life that day, and neither will we.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed our presentation of Randall Phillips Ranch. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day here at Old Tucson Studios, Arizona's Hollywood in the desert. Thank you.
Also, they do a lot of banquet business here. This is probably the primary banquet area for all the big companies coming to Tucson. We have what's called the High Chaparral, the High C, Stage 2, which are venues for banquets. And in October we have what's called Nightfall. It's the Halloween themed promotion that lasts for the whole month. We're open at night at that time. And this is really, October is really the month where they do the biggest amount of business here, because Nightfall this will be the 10th year for Nightfall, and it's become a real institution here in Tucson, and it's really geared to young people. This is a college town, and the college folks like to have a lot of fun. They're all young and healthy, not like us old folks. And so Nightfall is really geared to the younger crowd, and it's become just bigger and bigger every year. I probably failed to mention that the business situation here. I mentioned that the studios the Columbia Pictures donated the buildings and the land over to Pima County, and over the years the county has leased the business portion. The people are still here that were here before the fire. They continued to stay here. The insurance pretty much took care of the rebuilding, but things have not been the same since the fire. The attendance has not come back, mainly because well, one of the reasons is that the Western is pretty much out of sync today. There's very few Westerns being made at and also this is still more or less a theme park, so people come here more or less for entertainment rather than as a movie set. But eventually, like I mentioned before, if the Western does make a comeback and there's some films coming up, it's possible Old Tucson Studios will once again become a primary maker of films, especially Westerns, because it sure is, it has everything here that you need to make a Western, and all you need is the audience to go see the pictures.
Avec ses décors et paysages mythiques, la ville de Tucson a rendu beaucoup de westerns populaires. Le genre s'est retiré du grand écran, cependant il n'a jamais cessé de se perpétuer sur support DVD. Aujourd'hui, le western semble connaître un retour en grâce. On a pu découvrir en 2008 l'assassinat de Jesse James, réalisé par Andrew Dominic, et un remake de 3h10 pour Yuma de James Mangold. Il est de plus en plus rare de voir un western avec les mêmes codes de réalisation que ceux qui ont été gravés dans nos mémoires. Beaucoup reprennent des idées en hommage à un film, d'autres font des remakes en modernisant le genre. Le résultat est souvent décevant, néanmoins les cinéphiles se laissent prendre et se remémorent la période de l'âge d'or du western.